Riverside.
It's that time of the week again, ladies and gentlemen. It's the 4th and 1 podcast, live from Lancaster and Lititz, Pennsylvania. Brought to you by you guys, the listeners. Anchor.fm/4th and 1, Instagram at 4th and 1 podcast. I am Captain, not Captain Boring. That's who's sitting next to me or in front of me, or you're listening to the other voice that sounds similar. My brother from the same mother.
Do we sound alike?
People say we do.
I don't hear it.
I don't either, but we hear our own voices. So
People also say we look alike, and I definitely don't see that.
I don't see it either.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't grow goatee, though, because it does start to become similar. And it helps that I wear glasses and you don't.
Yeah, because your eyes are lame.
Because I didn't make the nurse money that you did and got LASIK.
No, well, that too.
It became personal with me.
Well, guys, it's, I don't know, how many days until college football, Makai?
You know, I really don't know. I don't have a countdown. I start counting down sometime in June or after spring football, definitely.
We really need a clock for you to reset every year.
All right. I'll look it up. Hold on.
Okay. Well, while Micaiah looks that up, even though I could totally Google it, there's not much going on in the world of sports. And by that I mean, yes, there is. It's NFL free agency. It's spring ball for baseball starting off. The Champions League is in full effect. The MLS League is now running wild. And all sorts of other sports that I'm forgetting about off the top of my head because I did just get home 15 minutes ago from work.
So, until week 0, which is August 26, 2023, 163 days, 18 hours, 23 minutes, and 25.43 seconds until college football.
Got it. That's pretty nice.
Wouldn't you just love to be the head of a sport that its off-season is just as popular as the regular season?
Well, you mean, well, okay, kind of. For those of you keeping track, Real Madrid beat Liverpool 6-2 on aggregate.
No one cares.
Would I just want to be? Well, see, here's the deal. If I'm a GM of any team or athletic or sporting director or whatever they're calling it nowadays, yeah, excuse me, I'm always going to be busy. It's not like I'm not doing anything as soon as the season's over.
No, but wouldn't you like to be the head of a league where it's like the off-season is just as popular? And I'm referring to NFL free agency.
Well,
like,
Micaiah, I hate to burst your
agents...
bubble, but like that's kind of how soccer works too.
No, but it really doesn't, though.
It really does. Transfer windows are hype. In Europe, they are.
What? Okay, yeah, and there's a reason that we beat them down in 1776.
Oh my God! That was, first of all, that was one country, not a whole continent.
Okay, well, you know, we got Germany in one war. I think we got France in another one at one point in time. So we have most of that area on lockdown.
All right,
okay?
I'm just going to leave that there and move on. To answer your question, yes, I wish it was just as hype, and of course I wish that I worked for a team. I'm just going to answer your question. I'm going to let that sleeping dog lie, as we have, I'm looking here on...
that America is the greatest country in the history of the world?
Okay, first of all, if you're going to make this argument, and it's not that hard, Micaiah,
I'm not
this is how you make the argument, okay? It's back-to-back World War champs, 1 and 2, okay?
Yeah.
Now, you could argue that England and France kind of had Germany on the ropes in World War I, and they did, but, you know, we pushed it over the edge. I don't care. Back-to-back World War champs, okay?
Yep.
It took down the USSR, even though not really, but that's okay. So, yeah, you can make a argument that we probably beat all of Europe at some point.
Well, and we're undefeated in Super Bowls.
Yes,
as
we
well.
are undefeated in Super
And-
Bowls, but the Canadians don't really get to play with us. So how
Well,
would we
the
know?
the World Baseball Classic is going on right now. So if we dominate in baseball, man,
Let's see where that at, because Japan has been doing a pretty good.
Japan's been doing, but I think they're still in group play. Why don't you look that up?
I am. It's March 7th to March 21st.
Okay, so we're like halfway done.
So, this is an every 4-year thing.
It's like the World Cup.
Okay, sorry.
Hence the World Baseball Classic name, I think. Just dawned on me right now.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to MLB's website and seeing if they got anything.
Almost
Yes, so
still opening up.
it is still in pool play. March 15th is today. USA takes on Colombia, 10 p.m. on FS1.
Well, the big news out of that group, from the little I've been paying attention, is the USA lost to Mexico. They were supposed to sweep their group. They lost to Mexico. They beat Canada, and now if they beat Colombia, they're through.
So
and then things get really interesting.
So a couple weird things to mention here. First of all, Great Britain is playing baseball. Isn't that just a smack in the face?
Yeah.
They're in the U.S., Mexico, Canada. So they're all tied, those top three, 2-1. Colombia's obviously 1 and 2, and then Great Britain's 1 and 3. Both China and Chinese Taipei, a.k.a. Taiwan, are both playing. Currently, CT, as in Chinese Taipei, is 2 and 2 at the bottom of their pool. Oh, that's cool. They're in different cities. Cuba
for right
is
now.
Cuba is. Oh no, they're all 2 and 2 in that. Cuba, Italy, also a sleeper baseball country, is Italy. The Netherlands, Panama, and Chinese Taipei. Japan is destroying their group, which has Australia, Korea, Czech Republic, and China.
Well, I mean, who's going to compete with them in that group?
To be fair, no one else is going to compete with them.
Exactly.
Okay, Korea has a pretty good, not necessarily thriving, but good baseball culture. And then Venezuela is just destroying the Pool D in Miami with the DR and Puerto Rico.
When Shohei Ohtani on the Japan squad isn't even their best pitcher or hitter, you're running pretty deep. I mean, the U.S. is throwing Mike Trout out there, which is nice. It's nice that kind of the bigger stars for the U.S. are playing. It's going to be the closest that Mike Trout ever gets to the playoffs.
Yeah, I want to. That's funny. I actually wanted to look at the roster. So some of the quarterfinals were already set, and Cuba has actually moved on. So Australia, because 2 of the pools are closed, I guess, Pool B and Pool A, and I guess and Pool D. So 3 of the 4 pools are closed. Japan takes on Italy in Tokyo tomorrow morning at 6. Venezuela is waiting for Pool C to close to take on that runner-up. And Cuba already beat Australia, so they're waiting for the winner of the Pool C runner-up, which will be either the U.S., Mexico, or Canada, most likely. They're waiting to see them in the quarterfinals. So things are heating up.
Hey, it's nice. The new rules in baseball seem to be working. However, they don't apply to the World Baseball Classic, so
Right. And that would be
all the new MLB rules aren't exactly applying. But it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. If you're a sports fan, it's an interesting thing to watch. It's like the World Cup, except much smaller and more boring.
More very what's the word I'm looking for? They're very isolated. Very when a doctor. Oh my gosh, I am stroking out.
What you trying to say?
Specialized. It's a very specialized
group
of sport as well,
and fans as well. Like baseball is very regional. Football is very national. Basketball is very international.
Sure.
So, especially baseball in America is very regional. So you only have kind of the diehard baseball fans paying attention to it.
I got a question here for you, Micaiah.
Yeah, what's your question?
I'm going to share my screen here real quick.
Okay.
Here we go. Rate this uniform.
Okay. It's not bad. The hat looks like a knockoff something that you would buy from a foreign vendor along the boardwalk at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
The uniform shirt isn't bad at all.
So here's my issue. First of all, uniform, I'm giving an 8 out of 10. Here's the deal.
Okay.
It seems... I can literally see the iron-on patches. I would love to see something a little bit more serious out of the USA, especially from Nike.
Okay.
The S is very... I get what they're going for there. Very 1980s, and that's what I actually love about that thing. The hat... Walk me through what's different between the hat and the uniform, Micaiah.
Oh,
One
well,
says
literally,
USA,
and the hat just says US.
US. That bugs the crap
100%.
out of me. And the style is they're not even on the same thing. So whoever designed this
Pull up the Dallas Stars.
need to be fired. The hockey team, the Dallas
The
Stars?
hockey team, because I'm pretty sure that hat, that the USA hat, I'll give the shirt a 7.5 out of 10. I'm gonna give the hat like a 3. Just look this up. I think that they kind of like stole like the star. Can you look up hat?
that's
That's
probably the Jewish one. For those of you who don't know, it's for the World Baseball Classic for their.
I swear that at one point they had a hat that it was like the D over Dallas was right there, right?
Oh yeah, right there,
right there.
Yeah,
It looks
basically
like they
the
stole
Dallas
the
Stars.
Dallas Stars hat. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
100%.
They just copy and pasted that. Okay, I wasn't going crazy.
Nope, not at all. I'm looking at who they have. They have some big leaguers on the team.
They do. Again, a lot of the big leaguers signed
Holy
up, like
crap.
Mookie Betts, Mike Trout. These are some big,
Pete
big
Alonso,
names.
Tim Anderson, Nolan Arenado, Trey Turner, Mookie
Yeah, it's
Betts,
one. It's
Kyle Schwarber, Mike
Yes.
Trout, Kyle Tucker.
it's a great lineup for the U.S. because I remember when
Ken
when
Griffey Jr. is the hitting coach.
when we played baseball, and I
Yeah.
was really into baseball way back when.
Uh-huh.
I remember the analysts saying that no big stars wanted to sign up for the World Baseball Classic. So I'm glad that the Stars
I think
now
they're
are signing
bored.
up. Well, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you be? You have to play 162 games of meaningless baseball.
So Mexico tops. So it's between the U.S. and Canada. So Mexico wins pool 3, and then so the U.S. is between the U.S. and Canada.
Yes, and from what I understand, U.S. beat Canada the other night. They routed them like 9-2 or something like that. So they just have to beat Colombia tonight or whenever they play.
Got it, to move on. So it's a win and an in sort of situation.
Yep.
So here's the thing. Going back to, can you name another sport that the players are as bored? Like, I feel like baseball has peaked. Now that we're on this topic. As a sport, baseball has peaked. And I think it peaked right after the steroid era.
Well,
And I think
that's-
it peaked because of the steroids.
well, yeah, you're not. I would agree with that, but also I think that's why they're kind of changing the rules, speeding up the game. Games are half an hour quicker now. The runs are up 2 runs a game with these new rules, at least in spring training. There's more stolen bases. They banned the shift. So
Which people have gotten around.
which is fine. You can get around the shift, but I'm like, you want to be a big leaguer, right? Learn to hit the ball the other way. And this guy I work with, he's a big baseball fan. He's like, it's really hard to hit the ball the other way when they're throwing it, 2 inches, from you, and you got to hit it. And I go, I get that, but you got to figure it out.
You have to. You're right, except for the fact that pitch speeds have gone up like 5 miles an hour in the past 10 years. Like, you're throwing 100
And
miles
balls are
an
being
hour.
hit farther than ever.
100%. So here's the issue that I have with the argument of you got to hit the other way. First of all, the way that they're getting around it is they're bringing center field, really right field, whoever they're leaving their two fastest guys out in the center in basically
field?
right center and left center, and they're bringing their least fastest guy and they're putting him between first and second base in the outfield, because the rule stipulates that you basically draw a line, split a ballpark in half. There has to be two players on the one side of it and two players on the other side in the infield. Now, here they might change that next year and go, yeah, no, you guys, you can't have four players on the same side of the field at the same time, sort of deal. So center field basically has to stay on the line, which wouldn't necessarily be the case. But moving past that, you still have to hit a ball straight up the middle. Like, that's all you have to do at the end of the day. Yes, shortstop's going to be there, but you don't have to pull it completely. You have to hit a ball up the middle, and second of all, pitches are harder to hit because pitching is so good. We saw it. I think the issue that everybody's having is it's changed from an offensive-based game, which it has always been for the history of baseball, basically, except for the dead ball era is what they call that, but I don't count the dead ball era. Baseball purists kill me right now. But past the dead ball era, it was always about offense. And after they took steroids out of the game, and after the Red Sox and the Cubs won the World Series, everybody just kind of went, okay, so now it's a defensive-based game. It's like watching cricket now, basically.
Baseball has become very comfortable with itself and just kind of letting itself be and not modifying the rules, right? Right. The NFL is going to get huge pushback here from the XFL's review process, because the review process in the XFL is heads and shoulders above anything the NFL does. You hear what they're saying the whole time. It's done immediately, and it's done within seconds, not minutes. And there's a guy, Dean Blandino. He's in the booth or in somewhere.
He's in New York.
He's
they're doing exactly how we said they should fix it.
Right, exactly. And they're doing it how soccer does it, but they're taking it out of the. They're taking the emotions of the on-the-field referees out of it. And don't tell me that the on-the-field referees don't have emotion. Because when you're surrounded by 65,000, or if we go to college,
JT was short.
100,000 screaming fans, you can't tell me you're not going to make one or two calls or not make one or two calls per game that are influenced by the fans. And so it's really taking that emotion out of it. It speeds up the process, and boom, 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 and we're done. So the NFL is more open, or has been over the last 20 years, to adapt its game better than the MLB, and that's why it's succeeding way more than the MLB. Not that the MLB will ever or would have ever taken over the number one sports job from the NFL.
Yeah.
But it could have, instead of the gap going like this in the NFL and the MLB staying the same, they could have grown, and the gap would have stayed the same, but both sports would have grown, and that's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I think baseball's in for a long road down. I think, surprisingly also, their stadium situations they're kind of screwed because they don't have good stadiums for anything else other than baseball.
Again, the sport was great when it was a whole bunch of 5'8" white guys that had nothing better to do because they came back from war, right? And there was nothing better to do. But now
you
they're
mean in the 50s and 60s, or you mean in 1880?
like in general, baseball was a great sport because everyone in quotation marks could play it. Right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. And
right.
it's
So it's a whole bunch
specialized
of
much now.
Right. 5'6" white guys. Right. But now it's not. It's cream of the crop athletes. And that's why basketball is now that sport. Everyone thinks that they can play basketball because they can literally go out and play basketball.
Damian Lillard, to speak of that, Damian Lillard has come out. He was on what's his guy, the JJ Redick's podcast. And was like, the issue with the NBA is guys aren't playing into their 40s anymore. So there's no young guys just get their catered to, and then basically stats just drop off because you have a bunch of people like John Morant who gets suspended for 8 games because
my goodness.
he flashed a gun a couple times.
How broken do you have to be? Like, in what universe is that a good idea?
Okay, so I heard and I read the story about him allegedly threatening a guy with a handgun at his house. But then I saw something about a video where he flashed something.
So he was at a nightclub
Yeah,
in Denver,
yeah,
and he flashed a gun
yeah.
in the nightclub on his Instagram live feed. Then, while at the same club owner, he was in a private room, the club owner released a video or a photo of him doing some saucy things with one of the dancers. Which, if you go and view the photo, which is just the photo, he's like tucked away in the corner. If you don't pay attention to that at all, the floor is just money. Every single flat surface is covered with money. Like, you don't see an inch of the actual floor, and it's actually kind of funny.
Apparently, James Harden. This is a thing in the NBA. James Harden has spent like 1% of all the money that he's made in strip clubs.
Oh yeah, it's the NBA is a very big party culture, from what I understand.
Yeah, and what Damian Lillard, I think I said that. Damian Lillard basically said is there's no one holding anybody accountable.
Oh yeah. It's a very player-driven league now.
Yeah.
And when you have a player-driven league, this tends to be what happens, as you said, because in the day and age that we live in, where anyone can do anything and be whoever they want, whenever they want to be it, and do whatever they want when they want to do it, and it should be deemed okay.
Yeah.
The NFL is about that progression, and this is what becomes of it.
You know, if you want to make the NBA interesting again, I liked it for a little bit. Right in high school, it was good, and then right after high school, because I was a bandwagon Warriors fan, so I jumped on because like Steph Curry, he's reinventing the game. That's sort of fun. And then everybody followed suit, and so it kind of made it unfun again because we came from Shaq to Steph Curry basically. And the way that you fix the NBA is not by expanding the playoffs. I don't hate it. I like the play-in games. But you actually take those away, and I mean, the NBA hates me already because they're losing money. You take them away, and you make every series a best of 3, just like it is in the park.
The NBA is also flirting with the idea of you have to play minimum number of games to like win any awards or be voted onto any all-pro teams.
That would be smart.
And that would also take away the issue that the NBA is having right now of stars resting.
Yeah. I think another good reason is, which is hilarious, resting just doesn't make any sense compared, because
load management is what they
joints,
call it.
Yes, game management, time management, whatever they call it. Yes, joints, you're bouncing, you're doing a lot, especially for big guys, right? Like tall, big guys. That's a lot of weight to go up and down a ton and go hard a ton, right? But the game really isn't like that anymore, right? In 1999, guys like Bull and he was in John Wick. He's a really big player. He was on the 76ers.
Oh yeah. He's like Romanian or something.
Yeah,
yes, he's ginormous. I can't think of his
or even
name.
Kristaps Porzingis, who has fallen off the face of the earth now, literally because Kyrie Irving basically took his place. I was going with that. Would be dominating, right? These big guys would be dominating. You just pass the ball down there. You throw them in the paint, and they just put up 20, 30 points a game.
Well, Charles Barkley and Shaq, and
they're the best part of the sport, in my opinion.
Well, they are, but they also make a great point of when they were playing, they had one athletic trainer no chartered flights. We're basically,
Yep.
flying United, Southwest, whatever.
Right.
And playing way more back-to-back games than these guys are currently. And there were way less injuries and no load management at all. So at some point, we are now, and everyone wants to load management because of Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
That's the big thing. You load management so that when it comes to playoffs and finals, you're healthy and you can go on this run.
Except Kawhi
half
wasn't
these
unhealthy.
teams can't even get there.
Well, and Kawhi Leonard got injured because the other guy, who I can't remember, another 7-footer, stepped into him. That's why Kawhi got injured. You can't blame. He re-injured his ankle, right? He injured his ankle. He came back.
Yeah, it re-injured his ankle.
And the guy stepped
quad,
into
yeah,
him,
and-
which would be a foul.
It,
It
yeah.
literally became a foul the next year
Yep.
because he invaded his space or whatever they
But-
call that foul.
But now all the stars want to do this because they want to be healthy down the stretch. Meanwhile,
Soccer's
games
playing
that-
like 100 games a year.
all the games that they quote unquote don't matter in November and December, then that they didn't play in, that the stars played in and they lost. All of a sudden now you're a 9 seed, 4.5 games back of the 6 seed, and you could have made the 6 if you had won the 4 games in December, right? Now,
Yeah.
I know I'm contradicting myself because I said baseball plays 162 games that don't matter, but at least their stars are playing 162 games.
Well,
Mike Trout,
155, but yeah.
Mike Trout is playing 155 of meaningless baseball in Anaheim.
Right.
Meaningless because the Angels
Right.
have made the playoff once in his tenure.
Right. There's a
Mookie
reason
Betts-
that there's the WAR stat wins above replacement. That's
in,
because
in baseball,
in
and
baseball.
that's fine. Whatever. I don't really care. Baseball. If you have to invent stats to make your sport relevant and justify your players,
that stat was invented because of fantasy sports, Micaiah. Little fun fact
fantastic.
there for
If
you.
you have to invent stats in a sport, your sport's boring. Yeah, boring.
Okay, that's just a bad hot take by you. and
It's
we're gonna
not.
leave
It's
that.
a great
yes,
hot
it
take.
is.
Thank you.
And
No,
here's
it's not.
why, Micaiah.
No, it's
because you have to
not.
make stats up.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do, because you have a billion other stats. They added one stat. They didn't just pull it out of thin air because baseball
they
was
have
boring.
a billion other stats because now they have spin rate on the ball for these pitchers.
Okay,
and they have
that's
exit
nerdy.
velocity.
That's not an important stat, though.
No,
I'm not
but it
scouting
is.
because
no,
of
that's what it is. It is important to these guys now. If you turn on a game on Fox in the middle of July, you will hear John Schmaltz talk about exit velocity and spin rate of the ball at least for 5 minutes and every single inning.
any person who's ever swung a bat at a ball would know it does not effing matter what the exit velocity is, because
but
the saying is ball fast in, ball fast out.
It does now. They're inventing stats to get people interested because their sport is dying.
Well, that's totally different. War
it's
was
not. That's the
yes,
point
it
I'm
is,
making.
because the war was not created for that. Your war stat was created by the dude who invented fantasy sports
Okay.
so that he knew who to put on his team.
That's fine in that
And it's
instance.
okay,
but
and for that matter,
these
it's-
executives and GMs are using that war stat to evaluate players.
And so
And-
is the
and
expected
it's
goals
beco-
in soccer, and so is half
And
the
it's
sport.
become so prime in the media that this invented stat and these invented statistics
Every
are now
statistic is
evaluating players
invented.
and being forced down my throat to make baseball seem interesting, and it's just not. Because these stats
no
mean
one's
nothing.
saying you have to watch baseball with the sound on.
No, but you kind of do. Because
Okay.
if you don't, you're going to fall asleep. Because
you
baseball
watch baseball
is
to
so
fall asleep.
Boring.
The same reason you turn on March Madness, because I want to take a nap on Saturday afternoon.
Get out of here. Get out of here with the March Madness. March Madness is one of the best 2-3 weekends you got in sports.
It's not. It's extremely overrated. I don't know
It's
why
not.
anybody likes it.
How is it overrated?
Micaiah, name one good storyline of a winner in the past decade.
No, but that's what makes it so great. It's not about the winners. It's more about the losers.
Yes, it's about the University of Maryland, Baltimore counties. Yeah, who lose in the Sweet 16. And I don't care, because it's a bunch of white guys playing basketball. You lost. It's not interesting. Basketball is it's not, there's no fight anymore in basketball.
How is there no fight? It's It's a single elimination tournament.
Because
you lose,
they don't
you're
play
done.
defense.
They do play defense.
No, you play to rebound the ball now. That's what you play. You play to rebound the ball. There's no steals anymore. There's no nothing anymore.
I think you haven't watched basketball. I think you've been watching too much NBA basketball. Listen, I'm not going to consider myself an expert on college basketball.
I don't want to watch
I'm
college basketball because it's not as good as professional basketball. It's like watching high school
it's better.
wrestling.
You're right. It's better than professional basketball because at least in college basketball, the top players actually play.
You have so many incorrect hot takes, and I
That
am
was
such
the
an
most correct
asshole.
out of them all.
That's fine, but that's not the reason you're dying on that hill, which is stupid.
I'm dying on that hill because I came correct, and you got nothing to prove it.
Yeah, except you made fun of the war statistic.
You barely know about the sport that
Yes,
we
because
consider
you're
us experts at. So how am I supposed to take you seriously when you're talking about college basketball?
I'm sorry. At least I can have an informed opinion and watch college football.
No, you can't. You can't have an informed opinion about college basketball or basketball.
I said football, you dumb duts.
What? I understand that, but your premise for having an informed opinion about college football is the same about college basketball.
No, it's not. I don't watch college basketball.
So then how can you say
I do not have an informed opinion about college? Well, okay, so first of all, I can have an informed opinion because I know enough to go, this isn't interesting to me. Change channel. I'd much rather go watch fucking golf.
Get out of here
at least
with
that takes some technical skill compared to a bunch of sweaty 20-somethings.
Golf is the easiest sport in the world. Stop acting like it's hard.
No, it's not.
It's the easiest sport in the world. Stop acting like it's hard. Everyone thinks it's so hard. You hit the ball.
Yes, but
And
you have
if you
to hit the
just
ball within
hit the
parameters.
ball within,
and you want to talk about exit velocity and sports that don't need statistics? They make the
It's
same
golf.
statistics up in golf.
no one cares about golf. And you know why no one cares about golf? Because their stars are also don't care about golf and are leaving golf to go play golf somewhere else.
No, that's just because they want money and they want more money.
And well, you know, to
And
each his own.
competition.
Listen, golf is not more interesting than basketball. That's the most asinine
Golf
thing
has
you've
had a
ever
better
said on this
past
podcast.
5 years from
No.
a storyline perspective than
Wrong.
The NBA has. Because they have better characters. Ever
then
since
the NBA
LeBron,
have
ever since LeBron went back to Cleveland, I have stopped caring about Cleveland. This one's for you, LeBron. Go f yourself.
Do you even know where LeBron's playing now?
He's in L.A.
Okay, well, at least we know that.
He's somehow still in L.A. And the only reason he's not in L.A. is because he wants to make all the money when his son gets drafted, and LeBron's 55 playing with his son. That's the only reason he hasn't retired yet. The dude has everything. $100 million deal for the rest of his life from, or was it $1 billion? I don't know, from Nike.
There's $1 billion.
It was $1 billion with a B. The dude's fine. He could live off the residuals of that deal, and he'll be okay. It doesn't have any good storylines. The only sports that have good storylines right now is football, and they barely have any good storylines right now.
Okay, well, first of all, that's just not true. Second of all, name me a captivating headline that golf has produced in the last 5 years.
It's the rivalry between two guys of names I do not know.
Exactly! My point is justified.
So the two headlines that you would see are something along the lines of this, okay? First, and hey, we can at least say, at least these are all not tennis. Tennis is the stupidest sport because it's way too long. People they got too good at it. So for male, the only reason is females, and this is not sexist, females are not strong enough, so they can't get the ball fast enough, so they can actually have volleys. And
Oh, I see what you're saying. Sure.
so male tennis is just ace, 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 ace,
Right,
ace,
right,
ace,
right.
win. Like maybe you skip, maybe you get one or two of them.
Right.
Okay.
So
golf-
it's the same
golf-
the same concept as
Golf storyline-
WNBA and the NBA. They say
Yeah.
that WNBA is more pure, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, golf storyline, there's twofold, and I really wish, I know it's Bryson DeChambeau. I know that's
Yep.
one of the guys' names.
Well, at least you got half of them. At least you
of
got
the
half
storyline.
of the two.
So,
yeah.
the storyline is, the overall storyline is this. It's purist versus new age, right?
Uh-huh.
It's that
Yeah.
stable, which golf really hasn't run into until, until Augusta had to let black people in, which is a whole nother story. Yeah,
Alrighty.
it was like 1970 when Augusta. It was
good.
way too
Good
late
old Georgia.
before Georgia was like, "Oh yeah, you guys can come join our country club." It's like
Oh, good old Georgia. Down
first-
where the peaches are sweet.
the
and the
first
racism
famous
runs thick.
black guy had to be half black for golf to actually accept him. Do you know how racist golf is? So that's number one storyline. It has a great, hilarious history that I can laugh at, right? And, okay, I'm not even going to defend myself on that one. The second thing is, it's purists over new age, right?
Yes.
Where
Okay.
you have Live Golf, which has started to flounder a little bit,
Yeah.
and then you have the PGA.
The PGA. Yeah.
Right? So you brought in a legitimate contender who got slapped with an antitrust suit, I'm pretty sure, because they started banning people because they went to go play for Live Golf. And then you have these two, you have that even skip down even more in these two guys, and I'm forgetting what their names are. But one of them's Bryson DeChambeau. And the difference is, these guys hate each other. There's these two guys, and now I have to look up the rivalry's name. But basically, one's just a good old boy, and the other is like this technical. How do I get stronger? How do I get my spin rate higher so I can get
Brooks Koepka.
Brooks Koepka, thank you. So I can get higher spin rate, so I can get 2 more yards out of my drive. That sort of dude, and they just kind of go back and forth at each other in passive aggressive white guy interviews.
Okay. That's fine. Do you know when that story was?
That was 2 years ago.
No, 2021. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, but it's still
So
there.
just
you just have
so
to
we
look
know,
for it.
Just so we know, your whole argument was that college basketball is more boring than golf.
I haven't
Well,
been. The last
least
time
college
college basketball
basketball-
was good was when Villanova hit a buzzer beater.
Okay, there's been so much more great college basketball.
Okay, name one great player to come out of of college since 20. When did they change the rule? 2020, 2019.
A great college player to come out.
Come out and just take over the league.
You mean besides John Morant?
He was 2018,
He was 2018.
I think.
All right. Well, there's Zion.
Again, 2018.
All right. Hold
These
on.
are 2018, 2019. Basically, since they changed the rule, which was like they stopped basically saying you had to go to college for a year. That was
well, that was the 2019. Hold on, I gotta look up the 2020 draft because I don't
look
know
up-
basketball.
I will look up the 2022 draft.
Anthony Edwards, 2020.
Who is he?
He plays for the Timberwolves. He averages like
Oh, a
25
team
a game.
that doesn't matter.
LaMelo Ball.
Okay, okay, close,
What do you mean close?
good, basically.
Okay, all right, good. In that draft, Tyrese Halliburton. Do you know who Tyrese Halliburton is?
He sounds like an aircraft manufacturing company.
Okay, well that's fine, but he's aircrafting the ball in the bucket right now. You see what I did there? I do. And Tyrese Maxey was in the 2020 NBA draft.
I know none of those names.
Okay, well Tyrese Maxey plays for the Sixers, And is their second leading scorer behind Joel Embiid with James Harden on that team.
And he clearly has a presence and is changing the game and sculpting the game into
He's
his
not
image
changing and
because of how
sculpting
dominant.
the game, but at least it's not golf where all you got to do is hit a ball straight. Get out of here! I went
Sometimes
to
you have
Top
to lob it.
I went to Top Golf. I'm just stroking the ball right down the center every
the
single
only thing
time.
you're stroking.
Stroking, yes, I know. Make those jokes. And everyone's just like, "Have you ever played golf before?" I'm like, "No," because it's not that hard. You see ball.
You only
hit
worked at a
ball.
driving range for 4 years.
I didn't hit that much.
Yeah, you did.
I did not. But still, even then, people act like it's so hard. Like, try to have the ball moving towards you. Like, baseball's the harder sport.
Oh, I don't
Between
disagree
the
with
two.
you. The issue is the way that golf made golf interesting is because you have to play 3 games. And that's the only reason it's interesting. You have to play 3 games and you have to basically hit the score that the people have set for you every single time. And actually you have to hit a lower score.
Oh yeah, and then let's talk about the jokers that set these phantom scores. Like, I guarantee you, the people who set these scores have never even come close to that in their life.
Oh, for sure.
Life.
Well, except there are a few, like Jack Nicholson has a few courses he's designed that are
Listen,
on the
when
PGA.
Jack Nicholson is your most famous player, and he's
That's not true.
97 million years old.
You know who your famous player is?
Well, yeah, obviously it's Tiger Woods, but before
Nope.
that,
Try again.
it's definitely Tiger Woods.
Listen, when you have a drink named after you, you're the most famous person. I wouldn't go to a place and get.
Arnold Palmer is not golf's most famous
He
person.
has a drink named after him.
Tiger Woods is golf's most famous Are you okay right now?
Okay, so first of all, he has an argument, but you have a drink named after you.
So?
Like, you have outlived Tiger Woods as soon
When
as
I
he
say,
dies.
if I walk up onto anyone on the street and I go,
Yeah.
golf, what's the first thing you think of? People are going to go Tiger Woods
Tiger
and
Woods.
not Arnold Palmer.
Okay, but that's not. But it doesn't matter. The legacy of Arnold Palmer will
Yeah, there
live
you go.
longer than Tiger Woods.
That's not true at all.
That's very true.
no.
And you know, in whatever happens in three generations from now, I will be laughing at you in there when I am correct.
100% wrong, my dude. Arnold Palmer will go down in the history of the drink world. Absolutely, 100%. Change the drink game. Change summer beverages forever. Change all basic white girls' drinks at clubs forever. Didn't get out of here with golf.
Okay, well,
Golf.
you actually bring up a valid point for once.
Thank
today.
you. Okay,
For
well,
once today.
all my points have been valid. Do you know that we haven't talked a minute about NFL free
Well,
agency?
at 45 minutes, we can do 15 minutes of the
We can
NFL
just
free
speed
agency.
through this whole thing, baby.
All right. Well, we're going to start. So, for some reason, CBS has
What should we name this podcast? What's going to get the most clicks? Golf is boring.
No, that's too basic.
Baseball
Arnold Palmer
sucks. What where were you going with that Arnold Palmer thought?
Arnold Palmer is better than Tiger Woods.
It's not bad.
But
That's
that's
not bad.
that's very niche. I think if you go baseball's new rules won't save it would be much more clickbaity.
That's
'Cause
a long.
No, it's not. That's,
Well,
I click on titles like that all the time.
Well, our most views. You also scroll YouTube like it's a social media. Our most views
Educational.
have come from like when we refer to the SEC or Alabama
Yeah,
or
except we can't refer to the SEC. So how about
Georgia's
this? Golf
so
is still
Georgia's
racist.
racist?
Like, yeah, Georgia's racist.
Golf is still racist. Georgia was racist until 1970.
I actually have to look this up. When did Augusta let allow black members.
There it is.
1975. Wow.
Oh, that's so late, Georgia. That is so late.
So, to put this into perspective, Alabama football integration.
Yeah.
1971 was when Alabama put their first black guy on a team. And go listen to Shane Gillis's his only currently stand-up special.
Yeah, Shane Gill, yeah.
And that's the only reason I know that. It's in 1971 because I think was 1970 was that.
Well, 4 years before Georgia. 4 years before Georgia. Well, yeah. Augusta in this case. I'm not going to blame the whole state.
No, we should because F the SEC.
And F the SEC. Well, that's what we could call it, but I don't think YouTube would allow that for a title.
But we're going to get all the banker bros there because of all the bank stuff that's been happening.
What bank stuff?
You don't know that the world is falling apart around you right now?
I just assume the world's always falling apart.
Well,
I just don't know what way it is now.
3 banks have collapsed.
Oh, awesome.
Which hasn't been gone out of business because they ran out of money. And
good. So we're going back to 1920?
Basically, it's the first time. It's the largest bank collapse in the U.S. since 1923, basically.
Awesome. All right. Well, at least we have that to look forward to coming up. Roaring 20s, they're back.
The good news is your insurance rate, not your insurance rates. Those will probably still keep going up, but your interest rates will probably come down sometime soon.
Oh, well, that's good. Good thing I don't need to buy anything.
But if it goes down, you could refinance your house and save some money.
Potato. I already got a pretty low interest rate. It's going to be hard to beat.
All righty. Lamar Jackson got tagged with a $32.4 million franchise tag.
This is actually pretty brilliant by the Ravens. Do you know what this non-exclusive tag does?
No.
So there's 2 franchise tags. One is the franchise tag, and one is the non-exclusive franchise tag. Franchise tag means you get paid within the top 10% of your position, I think, and for that year, and you have to be on the team.
Yeah.
The non-exclusive franchise tag means, I believe it means you still get paid in the top 10%, but you're allowed to go out and test free agency, and if you agree to a deal with another team, the team that franchise tagged you, so in this case the Ravens, can choose to match the deal, and if not, the team that signs Lamar Jackson has to give the Ravens 2 first-round picks. Why is this so brilliant by the Ravens?
Because they were stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and this gets them out.
In what way?
They don't have to value Lamar Jackson now.
Yes.
Other teams do.
Correct. And so the Browns screwed the entire league over, giving Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed. Lamar Jackson wants $231 million guaranteed because he believes, rightfully so, he's the better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, both on and off the field. Everyone agrees with that. Great. Yeah. Wonderful. The Ravens say no quarterback is worth fully guaranteed money. Especially you, Lamar, who hasn't finished the last 2 seasons fully healthy and only has 1 playoff win during the history of your career. Yes, you have the MVP. And Lamar says, yes, I am. So, Simeon, exactly how you said, Lamar can go find out whether or not the Ravens are blowing smoke up his butt or if they're actually telling him the truth. And what the Ravens basically are saying is, go out, find a better offer. If you do, we'll be like, okay, you know what? We take it back. We were wrong. The market does value you. Here's your new contract. Come back and play. And if not, then they get 2 first-round picks and can try to go replace him. So if your other teams, do you pay that money and lose the first and your 2 first-round draft picks, or do you stay the course and try to go get other quarterbacks in the draft or elsewhere? And that is the question for all the teams. Simeon,
Yeah.
what do you think is going to happen? You think the market values?
No, I don't think anybody's going to want Lamar Jackson that much because he's injury prone. I think Lamar's a good quarterback. He's not worth fully guaranteed money. He's worth $200 million, sort of deal. He's worth the contract. He's just not worth it being fully guaranteed because he's an injury risk. I think I have to get over my doubts of Lamar and say he's proved enough to me when he's healthy, because what we forget about the Ravens is they are world beaters if somehow they stay healthy. I don't know what it is, but they are fantastic. They're just injured, and it's clear that they're just injured. So what this does is it gets GM front office out of sticky water. Lamar can't go and sit out a game and protest because they said, no, you have your way out to get the money that you want right now, but you also have a spot here because you'll always be a Raven, Lamar. They have the ability to do that. They're paying him top rate $32 million a year on a franchise tag, and it also gives him guarantee because they said, oh, I'm getting paid as a top player, which means if I come out and ball out, let alone, for them, they really need to hit the AFC Championship at least, unfortunately.
Right. Yep.
So if they do that, let alone win the Super Bowl, he will get exactly what he wants, even if he falls off the cliff next year.
And it's not like the Ravens were offering him $90 million guaranteed. Reports were the Ravens' best offer was $160 million guaranteed, which blows Kyler Murray's $140 out of the water. So it's not like the Ravens were skimping. It's more like,
well, when you see Derek's Carr contract, they kind of do. They kind of are.
Well, that's a whole different scenario because
and that's also not guaranteed.
And Lamar Jackson is going to be the Ravens look at Lamar Jackson as the long-term solution.
Correct.
There in Baltimore. Derek Carr, who signed with the Saints, is with all the veterans on that team and how much they're paying that team in New Orleans, you have a 2-year window, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it is this year, it is the 2023 and the 2024 seasons for the New Orleans Saints, and that's it.
Well, the funny thing is I don't know where New Orleans Saints' money's at.
It's in Alvin Kamara, Deion Jordan, and Michael Thomas.
Yeah, it was more of like they could have gotten Lamar Jackson. Technically not, because the deals were, right, free agency starts at a specific time, but the Derek Carr deal was technically done before
right.
the Lamar Jackson deal.
Yes, technically, yes.
But like that's what we're getting at, and we'll yeah. I think it was a good move by the Ravens. I think Lamar's not going to get what he wants, and even if he does somehow, I think the Ravens will match it, and I think Lamar wants to probably win more than he wants the money, so he'll stay with the Ravens because that's his best bet.
The Panthers moved up for the number 1 overall pick.
They did.
And rumors are circulating that they want C.J. Stroud.
That would probably be the smartest move on their end. Again, the issue is there's a bunch of good quarterbacks. There's not a bunch of superstars, though. Right? This isn't the 2015 draft.
But if you're the only problem with Bryce Young is that he's 5'10" ¾ That's the only problem with Bryce Young. If Bryce Young was 6 foot or taller,
who's the head coach? Frank Reich now.
Frank Reich. Yeah.
Except the fact that C.J. Stroud will fit better into Frank Reich's offensive scheme than Bryce Young will.
But on a Carolina team, and I guess you could make the argument either way here, but I'm going to make the argument maybe just to get, like, C.J. Stroud's bigger, stronger, can probably be a little more durable. Carolina's offensive line apparently is not bad, according to Dan Orlovsky. Right?
Yeah.
The offensive line is actually pretty good, and they've spent a decent amount of money, so it's pretty good. He's going to be lacking on weapons on the outside, but if
especially after they got rid of DJ Moore.
If you go get a bunch of B-level receivers, you can kind of scheme them open.
Yep.
My problem is, in that system, you have to have a guy who's willing to move around and use his legs a little bit more. C.J. Stroud did not want to use his legs at all in college.
Even though
I
he
believe even though he can, and he showed in the Georgia game, in the semifinal game, I saw C.J. Stroud against Michigan back-to-back years against pass rushers, that if he would have just not sat in the pocket and just took off running, I believe Ohio State would have won one of those two games.
Sure.
But he kind of refused to, and so that kind of scares me when he gets against NFL pass rush. And Bryce Young was never afraid of that. So I think arm talent-wise, field general-wise, distributing football, they're about the same. But it's who's going to be more willing to use their feet, and I think it's Bryce Young.
Fine, but that's not what the Panthers need right now from a quarterback. I don't think that's a deal breaker, shall we say. They need someone who can come in and develop for 2 or 3 years and then be the superstar. I'm not saying Bryce Young won't do that. He's going to be a fine NFL quarterback, and we know how this works, right? You don't know the first 2 years. You hope you get a few flashes in the pan, and then all of a sudden, year 3, 4, and 5, you have Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. So they could hit we could be eating our words next year, but for what they need for this year, they need C.J. Stroud. They need someone who will fit well, is the quarterback that they need for the system that they have, and that they can grow around. Because at the end of the day, it's a flip of the coin between the two for me.
Sure. And this question you could say about either school right now, right? What I'm about to say, you can say about the opposite school.
Yeah.
But name the last Ohio State quarterback that actually made it into the league.
Well, yeah. I mean, perfectly
But you could say the
at
same
his
thing
position.
about outside of Tua from Alabama, you could say the same thing. So both of these schools do not have great track records of turning their product
Yeah, but
in
no
college
school
on
does.
the field.
Nick Foles went to Arizona and has a Super Bowl ring. Derek Carr went to Fresno State and is getting paid at 31, getting paid $150 million over the next 4 years.
But you can have there are but quarterback's the exception, not the rule. Every school has produced Michigan. It's edge right now. It's edge rushers for Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan
LSU
got lucky with Tom Brady.
True. I'm not saying
good,
it's
but before Tom Brady and after Tom Brady, for that matter, you had Jim Harbaugh and then Chad Henne.
Yeah, Chad Henne. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have the greatest of all time. You have a really good system quarterback who's the current coach, and you have a guy who when drugs were illegal and they weren't able to shoot up Patrick Mahomes, covered for him.
Quarterback's the hardest position to evaluate.
100%. 100%. I just don't like the thing of this isn't a quarterback school. No school is a quarterback school. Guys come in all the time who are high. Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning, right? If Peyton Manning didn't have the family and the work ethic he did, he's Ryan Leaf right now.
Sure.
Right?
No, I guess you're right. No school. No, that's probably actually the most right thing you
and
said
to use
all
an
day
example
today.
there, name a quarterback to come out of Tennessee until next year when their current quarterback comes out.
No, you're right.
So you don't know until you know. That's the annoying part with quarterbacks. You don't know until you know, and that's the annoying part that we waste so many first round.
And it all depends on the situation they land in, right? Like if Bryce Young goes number 2 to the Texans because Stroud goes number 1 to the Panthers,
right?
Who are we going to bank on that has the longer, no matter how long illustrious
longer
it is,
career? Correct.
The longer career, everyone's going to pick C.J. Stroud.
The fact that Josh Rosen went from Arizona,
the number 3 overall pick,
to Miami.
And now isn't even
out of the league.
Yeah,
he's probably in the XFL. By the way, there is one dude who's the only guy, Paxton Lynch. Did I send you this video? I think
yes,
I did.
He
Paxton Lynch is the only player to be cut and benched, more appropriately, as a starting quarterback in 5 out of the 4 current active leagues. He got benched as a starter in the NFL, the XFL, the now defunct AAF, the USFL, and the Canadian League. So that's just
Is that a sign from God himself being like, you know what?
You should go into car sales.
You need to do something else. Like, this ain't it, bro.
He can be a great guy, but, like, dude, come on. I mean, I appreciate the tenacity, but, like...
When was the last time Memphis produced a good quarterback anyway?
Was that where he played?
Yeah.
I thought he was at Missouri.
No.
All right.
No.
Derek Carr to the Saints, 4 years, $150.
You know what? Let's just talk about Aaron Rodgers and get out of here, because that's the other big news.
Well, there are some other things. Saquon got tagged, and so did Josh Jacobs.
Okay,
Jason
congratulations.
Kelce got an extension. So did Fletcher Cox and...
Yeah, the Eagles. Every Eagles fan and then everyone in football is wondering what Philadelphia is doing, because they're letting their younger guys of the veteran walk and get bigger deals. Meanwhile, they're signing Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelce, older guys on 1-year deals to like make another run at this. But yet, all their good pieces that actually had produced, like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, they're all letting them go.
Well, okay, so Darius Slay kind of fell off. I didn't know that they let him go. I didn't see that.
He has no guaranteed money left, so they're going to release him.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, T.J. Edwards, 26, 3 years, 19.5 to the Chicago.
They let Vernon Hargraves go to San Francisco
Which I'm
for
okay.
$40
He's
million.
30. He's 30, and defensive
Fletcher
tackles.
Cox is 32.
Yeah, the reason that they kept Fletcher Cox and who was the other guy that I'm thinking? Jason Kelce, and there was one other guy that I saw. Brandon Graham, who's 34, who's on a veteran minimum $6 million deal for a year. They're keeping them around because they want the parade money.
Well, they're making one more legitimate run at the Super Bowl, right? And then they're going to blow this whole thing up.
But Miles Sanders being available right now doesn't surprise me. They've always had problems in the running back.
Running back is, I believe, is one position you can just cycle through. Like, you find a good one, you keep him for 2-3 years, and then you put him on the street. Like, it doesn't matter.
The funny thing is the Eagles have been proof about that. I saw, one of those things of like every position and the college that they went to, and you have to guess the teams.
Yeah.
Right? Did you see the Eagles? Have you ever seen the Eagles Super Bowl? Like,
no, their roster.
It's crazy. Most of the roster does not play for them. They literally got rid of what was his name, who played for LeGarrette Blount. They literally got rid of him the next year.
Yeah, I mean, there's 30% NFL turnover. So you think every year there's 30% NFL turnover on your roster.
Yeah.
So that, assuming that, it's 3 years until you have a brand new team.
Yeah. So, which is a good point, and that's probably where they're like, we're going to have to rebuild, and we're going to have to pay. Here's the deal. They just cleared their cap for when they have to pay Jalen Hurts.
I just really hope he's smart enough to realize he's got to take. I'm not saying take less money, like super low amount of money to have people around him, but he's got to stay within that Patrick Mahomes cap hit sort of area.
I don't know where Kansas City gets their money from. They just appear. They basically have 4 guys on max contracts. That's unheard of.
Well, what they're doing is they're pulling when LeBron, D. Wade, and Bosh were in Miami, when LeBron was in Cleveland.
They backloaded all their contracts.
Well, sort of. Patrick actually gets cheaper because of the length of his contract, but also they find a whole bunch of, like Juju Smith-Schuster. No one wanted Juju because of what was going on in Pittsburgh. They signed him to a 1-year deal. He's great. Now he just signed with the Patriots for $33 million. So they will find guys kind of in that in-between that can give them 1 or 2 really good years, and then you got to nail the draft. So
which is what they're doing. You notice, so all of their players...
They had 4 rookies starting in the secondary in the Super Bowl.
Right. So first of all, if they got... Darius Slay doesn't surprise me. They have 1 or 2 guys... It doesn't surprise me, but Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, and Jason Kelce. Okay, Jason Kelsey already drafted his replacement, so that position is taken care of. So
Right.
they can keep him around for however long they want. They can, and then they release him next year or whatever, and he retires probably next. He's probably going to retire next year. He retires next year,
Yep.
and he's good to go, right? And all of a sudden they have all this money because Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and Jason Kelsey all retire next year.
Yep.
And they just freed up $10 million in a year to pay to Jalen Hurts, who needs $10 million, who they need that $10 million to pay him.
Well, and that's a big thing. Where is Jalen Hurts' money going to come in?
So McCole
And
Hardman
Lamar-
also is, they don't have any wide receiver, Kansas City right now.
Here's, I think, what Kansas City's doing. Kansas City's looking at it, and they just did this past year. Okay, so Travis Kelsey, each year he's going to get, he's going to decline the natural amount. He's
Yeah.
over 30 now.
Yeah.
They're going to scheme him open. You just find other guys who are going to get open, and you figure it out.
The
and
Eagles did
Patrick's
it with
gonna-
Dallas Goddard
and
Zach Ertz before him.
And Patrick Mahomes, you trust that Patrick Mahomes is going to figure it out. And Patrick Mahomes has figured it out for 5 straight seasons
And
now.
no offense, it's Andy Reid. Andy Reid's Andy Reid's what's holding all those guys together, and they all trust him, which is kind of important. Just real quick, I know you want to wrap up here. I'm sorry. I just saw some other big. Josh Jacobs got hit with the franchise tag in Oakland, who is also now in need of a.
In Vegas, not Oakland, but yes.
Oh, in Vegas, sorry. Who's also in need of a quarterback now, but.
So the Panthers, as I just said, as we're talking about C.J. Stroud, they just signed Miles Sanders.
Oh, well, that's probably a good
So
move
they
on
have
them.
now a legitimate running back, good old line. So they're going to run the football a lot. And Miles Sanders, I think, was there, overlapped a little bit with Frank Reich. No, but it's the same style of offense he runs.
Yeah. Geno Smith gets a 3-year, $75 million, so 33, roughly $28 million a year contract from 25, literally 25 exactly. To he's 32. I just want to do some other stuff. A bunch of O-line players got moved around this year. Kansas City brings in a Jawan Taylor from the Jaguars for $80 million, 4 years, $80 million, and let go Orlando Brown.
Well,
which I find
Orlando
funny.
Brown wants left tackle money, and the league views him as a right tackle, and that's why.
That's fair. Jacoby Brissett, 31. He's continuing his tour. He's now with the Washington Dan Snyders.
Indeed. Washington, they might be one of the teams making a play for Lamar Jackson, right? Like, when is Washington? They got good receivers, at least one good receiver in Terry McLaurin. They got an okay defense. When are you going to figure out the quarterback position?
Nobody knows, Micaiah. Nobody knows.
Except for Dan Snyder.
So I think the last thing that we go to Aaron Rodgers, who broke it on the Pat McAfee show, who's the question is, we know where, so now for how much? He's 31? 32?
He's 38.
Oh. Other end of the spectrum. So he's
end of the spectrum.
As people have said, he's continuing his Brett Favre arc, so in 2 years he's going to be with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, it's... So the Jets are going all in. Desperate teams do desperate things. Jets are a desperate team for a quarterback. They need a quarterback, so why not try to go get Brett or Aaron Rodgers, right? But I don't trust a guy who wants to go on darkness retreats every year to determine whether or not he still wants to play football. So you're hoping at best for a 2-year stint, a 2-year
You're paying
window.
for 1 year of Aaron Rodgers. You're hoping for 2.
You're hoping for 2. You're paying for 1, but you have to.
Next year, you're probably going to be paying for 3, but you're only going to
So
get
you're paying for 3, hoping for 2, probably only getting 1 because when he gets around that roster or whatever and it doesn't click, they don't make the playoffs, the AFC stack, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. He's going to get fed up, go date some models, and smoke paella or whatever the F he smokes in his darkness hut for the rest of his
With
life.
Joe
No one's
Rogan.
gonna
Don't
hear
forget
it.
Joe Rogan.
With Joe Rogan and be happy.
And Pat McAfee.
And Pat McAfee.
And AJ Hawk.
So if I understand the Jets feel like they're out of options because Zach Wilson made an incredible throw on their pro day, and that's why he got drafted. Go after Lamar Jackson. You should have made a play for Jimmy Garoppolo. You should have done something else. You should do something else. Trade up in the draft and go get Bryce Young. Do something else other than Aaron Rodgers.
If you hope, not to be weird, you somehow draft Will Levis. You get him. You say, this was a fun time, Zach. Go have sex with some more 40-year-olds. We're going to do Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to bring in Will Levis, and we're going to hope that Will Levis develops under Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm not trusting that development plan for either. Like, I don't. Will Levis was not impressive at Kentucky at all. I understand it was Kentucky against Georgia and Alabama, but in the biggest games, he was a dimmer switch all the way down. There was no bright spot in that. Now, again, I said the same thing about Josh Allen, and look what turned out there, right? I was like, Josh Allen played at Wyoming. He stunk. In the biggest games against the biggest teams, he was awful. And now look at him. He's a superstar in the NFL. So, what do I know? Nothing.
We at the end of the day, Case Keenum didn't know he was still in the league. Signed a 2-year, $6.2 million contract with the Houston Texans.
Oh, good for him.
And Mike White is now on, did I see the Buffalo
Dolphins.
Bills?
The Dolphins.
The Dolphins. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Kyle Allen, who is with the Buffalo Bills now.
So now, either way, the Buffalo Bills will have an Allen starting at quarterback.
That is a true statement.
But,
That's a great joke. I'm just going through here seeing if anybody else that I care about has actually done anything. The Tennessee Titans, who needed to do something, have done nothing.
yeah.
So good to see the Titans are still doing the Titans. Jarrett Stidham, 2-year, $10 million contract with the Denver Broncos. Sorry,
Excellent.
backup quarterbacks are one of my favorite things to see.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed Baker Mayfield.
Oh,
That's an interesting situation.
I didn't know that Jimmy Garoppolo went to the Raiders.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
Well, that's a really good fit for him because it's under Josh McDaniels, who he played for. They brought in Patriots receiver Jacoby Myers. They
Yep.
have Devontae Adams, and they franchise tag Josh Jacobs. Decent offensive line.
They
Not
bolstered
bad.
it, actually. They brought in they brought in another tackle.
Not bad at all.
Not bad at all. Easton Stick.
What a
re-signed
name.
with the Chargers on a $1.8 million deal. Wouldn't
What
you
a
love to
name.
get paid $1.8 million to sit on
I
the
would.
bench and back up Justin Herbert?
I would like to get paid $1.8 million to do just about anything.
That's fair. That's fair. Oh, Tony Pollard was the other person who got a non-exclusive franchise tag. Forgot that. Oh, yeah, Daniel Jones,
Got
4 years, $160 million with an additional 35, so almost a $200 million deal, including incentives.
Yep. To be a mediocre quarterback. But hey, Peyton Manning was a mediocre quarterback and won 2 Super Bowl rings. So what do we know, bro?
We don't know anything. I'm just sorry, guys. Stick with me for 2 more seconds.
It ain't college football season, so we don't know anything.
We don't. Oh, the Packers, after they re-signed Nick Mullins, which is hilarious. Oh, wait, no, that was the Vikings. The Packers re-signed a 1-year deal max with their with Keyshawn Nixon, their kick returner, punt returner.
Oh, good. That'll win a lot of games for them without Aaron
Jordan Love, and now
Jordan.
and without Alan Lazar, who the Jets picked up in order to entice.
And they're going to try
Aaron
to get
Rodgers.
OBJ, and they're going to try to get.
Even don't they already
Randall
have?
Cobb.
Wait, is Sauce Gardner a wide receiver or cornerback? I always forget.
He's a corner. Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Then yeah, Taylor Heineke's on the Falcons now. Interesting.
Well, the Falcons got to figure out their quarterback situation. What, are you going to ride with Desmond Ridder out of Cincinnati?
He looked pretty good in the games he played.
Yeah, well.
Andy Dalton signed a 2-year, $11 million deal with the Carolina Panthers.
Congratulations.
So they're planning on throwing the Red Rocket out there to try to spark something up.
Well, it'll be a mentor, I'm sure, to whoever they draft. Like,
Well,
you don't trade
that's a
up to the
good
number one overall pick. And all right, let's get out of here.
All right, yeah, sorry, guys. We love... Oh, Baker Mayfield's on the Bucks.
I literally just said that 2 minutes ago.
I completely missed that. All right. That's the final music. We're leaving before Simeon goes crazy on the 75-minute episode of the 4th and 1 podcast. As always, Anchor.fm/4th and 1. Share this with your friends because we need attention.
Wash your hands, you filthy animals. Bye-bye.